Eli Mercer heard the wrong kind of quiet as he rocked on his porch, listening to his horses in the dark. Dry Hollow lay a few miles behind, its saloon lamps fading. He told himself, as always, that what men did after whiskey was none of his concern. That lie had once cost another man his life. A faint rhythm of hooves cut through the stillness, uneven and urgent. Eli rose, palm brushing the worn rifle by the door, and stepped to the edge of the porch. Moonlight thinned across the trail from town, painting a staggered shape coming toward his gate. The rider was small, hunched. As the horse drew closer, he saw the truth. Not a cowboy, but a young Comanche woman hanging onto the mane, bare feet scraped raw, hair streaming loose. The paint mare stopped in a shudder of lathered flanks. The girl slid from the saddle and caught herself on the fence post, one hand shaking, the other wrapped in a blood-dark strip of cloth. For a heartbeat, they just stared at each other. Her eyes were wild, but behind the fear was stubborn life. "I won't go back," she whispered, English roughened by another tongue. They laugh. They hold. Her fingers dug into the wood until her knuckles blanched. "Please!" All week Eli had heard the talk in town. A Comanche girl near the river, cowhands betting on who would catch her first, as if she were some Mustang to be branded. He had done what he always did. Kept his hat low, paid for his flour, ridden home alone. Now the story stood in his yard, torn cloth, bruises, and a shaking voice waiting for his answer. He could have told her to keep riding. Dry Hollow would have called that common sense. Instead, a memory rose like bile. A different night, a different man pleading as a rope swung, and Eli did nothing at all. He stepped down from the porch, empty hands lifted so she could see them. "You're safe here," he said. "Dismount proper. I've got you." She hesitated, then let a fraction of her weight fall against him as she moved. He took the mare's reins and led horse and girl across the short stretch of dust to his door. Inside, the house was plain. Narrow bed, rough table, stove breathing steady heat. Eli moved slowly, careful not to crowd her. He set a tin cup of water within reach, laid a folded blanket on the chair nearest the stove, and only then reached for her injured arm. The cloth was stiff with blood. When he unwrapped it, he saw bruises and crescent cuts, the shape of fingers that had held too tight. He fetched whiskey and clean bandages. "This'll sting," he warned. She watched him without blinking, then gave a small nod. When the liquor touched raw skin, she hissed through her teeth, but didn't pull away. Her gaze stayed fixed on his face, weighing him. Outside, the night was no longer empty. A distant shout carried on the wind, followed by the ripple of laughter. Hooves answered, several, careless and certain beyond the ranch fence. Eli's chest tightened. Dry Hollow was riding out to reclaim its entertainment. He tied the last knot in the bandage. "Stay by the stove," he murmured. "If anyone knocks, you don't move unless I tell you." Her gaze flicked past him, to a simple silver bracelet hanging from a nail above the table. She reached toward it, then hesitated. "For protection," he said. "My ma swore it keeps a body from being taken where they don't want to go." The girl slipped it over her wrist. Firelight caught on the metal, throwing a pale ring around bruised skin. Outside, hoofbeats grew louder. Lantern glow starting to pulse in the cracks around the shutters. Eli took up his rifle and stepped onto the porch again. The night folded around him. Hooves beat closer, each thud a question. For an instant, he had the sense that more than men were listening, that the land itself was waiting to see whether Eli Mercer would step aside as he once had, or finally plant his boots and hold. Dawn was a thin silver line when Eli stepped outside onto the porch. The Comanche girl slept inside, wrapped under his blanket, her breathing finally steady. The first warning was the floor under his boots. A tremor rose through the boards, then grew into the steady thunder of many hooves. Eli stared toward the ridge. Dark shapes topped the rise and spread as they descended, horses fanning until his ranch sat at the center of a tightening circle. Feathers moved in the breeze, spears and rifles stayed upright. No one shouted. The door creaked behind him. "My father," the girl said. She stood in the doorway, blanket around her shoulders, bandaged arm at her side, bruises shadowing her cheek. "Gray Hawk?" Eli asked. She nodded. "He comes with many when he thinks I am taken." The riders settled in place. Beyond the far fence, Eli glimpsed small figures, Dry Hollow folk watching. Eli stepped off the porch, rifle in his hand, barrel pointed down. He was one man facing 70 riders. One rider eased forward, broad shoulders, gray in his braids, an eagle feather tied high. His eyes, dark and steady, did not leave Eli's face. "You are the man who took my daughter under your roof," he said in firm, careful English. Before Eli spoke, the girl moved past him. She stepped down beside him, between the two men, no longer running but choosing where to stand. "Tell it," Greyhawk said. "From your own mouth." She raised her bandaged arm. The bruises showed like dark fingerprints. "Men from the town dragged me," she said. "They took my horse. They tried to pour their fire drink into me. This man stood in his doorway. He would not move." "He bled. I did not." Eli's split lip ached. "I should have done more," he said, "but I didn't step aside." Greyhawk's gaze moved over Eli's injuries, then to the silver bracelet on his daughter's wrist. "We rode," he said, "because the wind carried two stories. One, that white men hurt my daughter. Two, that other white men talk of hanging the one who stopped them so their shame can swing from his neck." He looked toward the hill. More townsfolk stood there now, some on horseback, some on foot. "So which story did you come to finish?" he asked. Greyhawk nudged his horse aside. From this angle, Eli saw the pattern of the ring. The riders were not only around the house, they were between the ranch and the road, spears angled toward the hill. "We came to see which man you are," Greyhawk said. "If you are like the ones who hurt her, we break this place and leave nothing. If you are not, we stand between you and the rope." All night he had waited for death to ride to his door. It had never crossed his mind that help might come instead. "I don't deserve that," he said. "Maybe not," Greyhawk replied. "But my daughter says you stood alone. A man who stands alone is already halfway to our fire." He let the words hang. "What do you want, Eli Mercer?" Eli looked at the girl, Ayana now, in his thoughts, and found her watching him with a steady gaze. "I want her to walk this land without fear," he said. "Here, in your camp, in that town. I want to stop being the man who looks away." For a moment, no one moved. Then Greyhawk lifted his hand. Several riders eased back, opening a narrow path from Eli's porch toward the open prairie. The circle stayed, but its shape changed. It had become a wall with a doorway cut into it. "Then today," Greyhawk said, "we will see if your town fears 70 riders more than you fear their tongues." Something in Eli's chest loosened. The ring of horses no longer looked like a noose, it looked like a shield, fierce and unexpected. Behind him, Ayana drew a quiet breath that sounded almost like hope. Eli stepped toward the space the riders had made, and for the first time, he felt the land under his boots answer with more than his own heartbeat. Which city are you watching our video from? Please leave a comment. Please subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you.